When winners fail, they learn. When losers fail, they quit. Welcome back to another episode of Hashtag Winning. Uriel Kim here, CEO and founder of Healthpreneur. Today, I'm going to share 3 quick lessons with you about the difference between winners and losers in this world. Now, I use the word loser not as a personal attack, but just people who lose in kind of the direction of their dreams, okay, when they give up and they don't really pursue it. So the thing I want you to understand is that, like, winning and losing, it's a choice, right? And understand that, like, winners, and I believe you watching this with me on this channel, you're a winner. You want to be a winner. You know it in your core that you have what it takes to win in life, to achieve your goals, to move through hardship. See, winners understand that, like, they're not looking for things to be easy. They understand that the road ahead is going to have some turbulence, but they're willing to move through it because the dreams that they've set for themselves are meaningful enough to accomplish. So I'm going to share 3 ideas here in this video that hopefully will get you thinking a little bit differently around winning and losing in life. So first and foremost is that winners don't see failure as part of their identity. It's just an event. So when something quote unquote not great happens, like we failed at something, we didn't get a good grade, we launched something that didn't pan out, a lot of people take it very personally. And if you want to succeed in life, do it like you got to get good at not taking things personally. If someone leaves hate or negative comments on stuff you post online, why internalize that? This is some random troll on the internet who is going to take you down because they feel like shit about themselves and they're a loser in the first place. You have to get very good at developing callous and not taking failure as a personal attack as to who you are. You failed, you're not a failure. It's a very small distinction, but it makes all the difference in life. Because when you look back on your life, and if you understand the difference between, like, if you think of someone who has confidence and someone who doesn't have confidence, the person who doesn't have confidence, a lot of times, they're looking backwards, referencing all the moments in time where things didn't work out, where they tried something and it failed, it didn't work. And they look at these accumulations of failures as, well, I must be a failure. And why that's a problem is that they're less willing to take risk. They're less willing to do something new because what's the point if everything before didn't work out? Winners, by contrast, are like, I'm a winner. I'm going to find ways to make things work. That thing that didn't work before, it's all good. I learned the lesson. That's the key. I learned the lesson and I kept going. That's the difference. Like, it's crazy. Like, the vast majority of people on this planet, unfortunately, are not going to win in life in terms of doing meaningful things. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's the truth. And it's not going to change. There's always going to be disparity. There's always going to be a select few who do everything and own everything. That's the way of the world because of the way our mind works. The purpose of this series on this channel is to hopefully help you become one of the few so you can help more of the many. Because the reality is people need your leadership. You need your leadership. Your family needs your leadership. Your family doesn't need a deadbeat loser who's not going to go after their dreams, who gives up when the going gets tough, who thinks that they're a failure, so what's the point of even trying? I'm just going to quit. Your family doesn't need that. The people you're serving don't need that. Your team doesn't need that. People are begging to follow a leader who has strength and who understands that he and she will keep going no matter what. Be that person for the people you serve. That's why you're here. So understand that as a winner, you look at failure as a temporary setback. It's not an attack to your identity or your ego. It's just what happened. It's an event and you learn from it. If you think about riding a bike, so when you learn how to ride a bike, unless you're like the superhuman, you probably fell off the bike. Now, I don't know, I can't even remember what the dialogue in my mind was at the time, but I would hope that it wouldn't be, in your case or my case or anyone else's case, I'm so dumb, I can't ride this bike, right? I'm a failure. The reality is, like, how are you supposed to be anything other than that? You've never ridden a bike before, right? Every master was once a disaster. So if we fall off the bike and we say to ourselves, okay, that happened, That happens. I fell off the bike. It happens. It's a neutral experience. The meaning we give to it determines our life, our reality, how we move through this world. So if we look at falling off the bike as this happened, okay, cool. What can I learn from that to improve things next time? Okay, maybe I'm going to steady the handlebars a bit and I'm going to keep my feet moving on the pedals. Cool. All right. Act 2. Let's try it again. And we do that and we make a little bit more progress and then we fall over again. But the key here is that we've made progress based on a learning. And I think this is the key to happiness in life is progress. As long as you're making forward progress, you will feel happy. If you're expecting to go from $0 to $1 million and you're not there by tomorrow and that's the marker of your happiness, you're fucked. But if you look at these markers of what are the small incremental improvements that we can kind of cast our sail on and move in that direction, that's going to give you the sense of momentum and forward motion. And if you can reshape your entire world to look for progress instead of perfection, you're going to be a whole lot happier in life in general. So anyways, coming back to this first idea is understanding that failure, falling off the bike, it's not an identity, it's not an attack against your identity, it's just an event that happened. Learn from it. What's the one thing you can improve on next time and move forward? So the second thing kind of follows this is winners are always collecting lessons and losers are collecting excuses. And they're, pointing the finger at circumstances or people about why they couldn't do it. So again, if we use the bike analogy, fell off the bike. All right, cool. What's the lesson? Well, I could do this. I could keep my feet moving, etc. Losers say, mom or dad didn't hold me on the bike. Okay, now that's I would say an appropriate response, perhaps for a kid, 3, 4, or 5 years old. I get that. But if you're an adult, that is an unacceptable response. For you to point the fingers and blame someone else for your own shortcomings, it's what I call adult baby syndrome, ABS. I don't work with adult babies, okay? I don't have any time in my life for them. And, I think we're on the same page if you're watching these videos. So it's all about collecting lessons. If I were to document, to be honest, all the failures that I've had in my life, man, it would be it would be a several volume encyclopedia. Even in the first couple months of this year, the number of tests and things that we have tried that have not worked out is in the dozens. Okay, and I'm talking not just an idea, but tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars behind different tests and ideas. And the 80% of them were nope, that was shit, didn't work out. Now, it's very easy to say, I'm dumb, I can't do this. And trust me, there are moments where I'm I don't know what to do. I really do not know what to do. I'm lost. I'm stumped. I don't know how to solve this. But that's okay. This is why you need direction and clarity. So yesterday, I spoke with my lawyer about some stuff for our house in Mexico. And I spoke with him because I didn't know what to do. So I spoke with an expert who has specialty in cross-border migration of Canadians to Mexico. Probably a good fit. Very much we only work with health professionals to grow their health business online, right? That kind of makes sense as opposed to talking with a generalist. So I had a number of questions where I had uncertainty. And I've talked about this in a previous video. The number one thing you have to be able to invest in is clarity. Clarity comes from the question of what should I do? I don't know how to solve this. So don't try to figure it out by yourself because the same mind that created the problem is not going to solve it. So if I have a handful of questions that I don't know the answers to, I'm going to ask my lawyer and pay him for his time, but more importantly, not his time, pay him for his knowledge and expertise in this specific area. So now I have a 30-minute conversation, I have clarity, and honestly, I woke up a couple nights ago in the middle of the night worrying about one of the questions I asked him. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get, what if I had that happen? And that could have kept happening over and over and over again had I not just, hey man, can we just jump on Zoom and just hash this out? And in 30 minutes, I got clarity, reassurance, and all the fear and doubt that I was experiencing momentarily in the middle of the night, gone. Why? Because now I had clarity. And so this is an example of like collecting lessons, is when you don't understand or when you're not achieving what it is you want to achieve, you have to understand that you just don't know how to do it. And that's okay. Because if you did, you'd already be where you want to be, but you don't know how, therefore you're not there. The sooner you recognize that, the sooner you can reach out for help. Because you can collect all the lessons you want, right? So this didn't work out. What's the lesson? Okay, the hypothesis based on that lesson is that next time we do this. Now, here's the thing, is the more of the lessons you collect, theoretically, the more patterns you're going to be able to recognize. And the more patterns you're able to recognize, the better you're going to be at solving problems, potentially, okay? But just because you collect a lot of lessons doesn't mean you know the next step. So collecting lessons is, a very, very important piece. But it's really important to collect those lessons as opposed to pointing the finger at anything. I'll give you an example. So we spend a lot of money on Facebook ads and we test a lot of different things. A lot of the stuff I don't share with you, a lot of the stuff I don't share with my clients because they don't work, right? And if they do happen to come up in conversation, I'll be like, hey guys, here's what we did. Here's what happens. Don't ever do it. But what a lot of amateurs and loser mentality people will do is they'll do something with Facebook ads. It doesn't work. And right away, they're like, Facebook sucks. The algorithm's against me. No, your messaging shit. Your offer is vague and no one understands what you're talking about. Why don't you take ownership of that and then shut the fuck up, okay? Because if Facebook advertising is working for many, many businesses, big and small, why isn't it working for you? It's not their fault, it's your fault. Look in the mirror, yo, and take ownership of what you need to get better at. And if you don't know how to get better at the thing, then you do what I did, is you hire an expert to give you clarity so you don't keep wasting your time on things that don't work, okay? So you collect lessons, you look at what can I learn from those? What do I think I can try or test next time? And if you need more clarity to move faster, you get expert guidance instead of pointing the fingers and saying stuff, whatever you're doing, doesn't work, which is a blanket universal statement that applies only to you. The third thing when it comes to winners collecting lessons instead of quitting is that winners play the long game. Losers expect overnight miracles and therefore they quit. I can't tell you how many, like this is the plague of the modern entrepreneur. You see all this nonsense on social media. Like you see this house behind me, you see this beautiful view. What you don't see is 20 years ago when I lived in a tiny 800 square foot apartment that was floor to ceiling inventory of boxes of shit that I could never sell because no one wanted it. You don't see the years of poverty line income I lived on. You don't see the countless hours year after year that I poured into my business with nothing to show for it. So you might see this for the moment, but you don't see the backstory and have the context. So that's why I share these videos with you. And that's why I'm happy to share kind of the inner workings of my mind and my process, because I want you to understand that it takes time to build something great. And if you're starting from scratch, don't expect to be the best. Every master was once a disaster. But the goal is if you extend the time horizon by which you're measuring success, then how on earth are you supposed to lose? If someone were to ask me, Yuri, what's the ROI on working with you? I'm like, what's the time horizon? Lifetime? I don't know, because I'm not dead yet. But over the past 12 months, our clients are about 314% ROI. Where else in your world are you seeing that type of return? Nowhere, right? Like even if you bought a house, you're not going to double the price of the house in a year. You're crazy. That's never going to happen. Maybe if you live in Dubai, maybe, but that's it. It's like maybe 20% over time, right? Over year. So I share that because if the ROI is over your lifetime, then how can you possibly lose unless you're just throwing bad money after good money after bad? Because the reality is this, like when I look at my journey from 2005, so let me backtrack. 7 years underpaid, overworked personal trainer. Okay, so I had 7 years of that grind. 2005, I came online. 3 years of poverty line income. So I spent almost 10 years in my 20s, dead broke. Like no money, paycheck to paycheck, like not good. So on a 10-year time horizon, I could have looked at that decade as a complete waste of time, a scam, nothing worked, it's all their fault. Or I could say, well, I was just building chapter one. I was going through kind of like my Rocky cutscene. I was going through getting punched in the face a lot. And unfortunately, I'm a bit of a slow learner, apparently. So I had to learn the lessons many, many times. And then I got into my 30s, and then I was like, oh, yeah, maybe get some guidance. And then I started recognizing patterns faster, and then things start to accelerate. But again, I've been at this now for 20 years online, almost 27 years in the health and fitness space. That's been my whole life almost, right? So like, you're not going to start in year one of your business and crush it. If you do, you're a friggin' unicorn, but you don't have the skills yet. You don't have the mindset yet. So if you extend the time horizon, like I've shared this before, please understand, if you come to work with us, it will be the single best decision you ever make in your life if you're a winner. But if you're a loser, you're never coming in to work with me. I promise you I'll kick you out of the program in a second, because I can smell a loser a mile away. And a loser says stuff like this: I don't know, Yuri, tell me what you're going to do for me. I'm like, I'm going to do nothing for you because we're not working together, okay? You have the problem, I have the solution. I have a 20-year track record. You have a 20-year track record of not having the solution. So let's like understand who's got, who's what. Anyways, I'm not trying to be narcissistic or egotistical, but I'm sharing with you that if someone comes in with that type of attitude, they're not going to win. They're not going to do well. Versus if you came in and you didn't make a single penny in your first year, as I've mentioned before in many of my other videos, it'll still be the best decision and investment you've ever made in your life. Why? Because my team and I are going to help you build skills that you will have for the rest of your life. We're going to help you learn how to ride the bike, metaphorically speaking. We're going to help you become a masterful communicator. Why is that important? Because if you can't communicate properly, you're not enrolling any clients, you're not coaching clients properly, and everything you do, whether it's typed, written, or spoken, is going to fall on deaf ears. So it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if it's your brick and mortar, your online business, if you want to set up a hot dog stand. You will be better in all aspects of life. You will be a better parent, you'll be a better spouse, you'll be a better human because you become a better communicator. And let's say you make $0 in your first year. I don't give a shit. I mean, I do. I really want you to win big time. Again, what I'm sharing with you is very rare in terms of like not seeing results, but you're going to struggle, right? You're going to go through moments of doubt, but the key is you're building skills. And when you get into year 2 and year 3 and 5, hockey stick inflection. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be your journey. I mean, I'm not saying that's the typical journey. I'm just saying that if you lengthen the time horizon of when things have to work out for you, you can never lose. And this is why winners win, is they lengthen the time horizon. Elon Musk is going to Mars. Do you think that that's happening this year? No. Do you think he's going to give up because he didn't get to Mars this year? No. Why? Because he probably has a lot of reasons why he wants to go to Mars. And he believes that the species should be on Mars. You give up too easily because you don't have a big enough why. It's really simple, right? Winners keep going because they just have a lot of reasons why. Losers give up because it gets hard and they quit. And they quit because they don't have enough reasons why they're doing what they're doing in the first place. So I'm going to finish with this. If you're having a tough time staying the course, and if you want to give up, I want you to stop thinking selfishly about yourself, because who you're letting down are all the people around you who are counting on you to achieve your dreams. Maybe it's your wife, your husband. Maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's your team. Maybe it's the people you're serving. If you fail and you only fail by quitting, you let all of them down. And that's a shame. And it's selfish. But that's not you, because you're a winner, right? Because if you were a loser, you wouldn't be watching this. So anyways, welcome home. Hopefully this video has struck a chord. If it has, let me know your thoughts below. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. And today's episode is all about the one word you probably don't want to hear. It's an F word, and it's gonna really strike a chord with you, hopefully in a good way. And it's not a word that rhymes with duck. It's focus. Focus.